Believe it or not, I've got a little bit of a tree hugger side to me. Crap, that's the wrong side socket. I mean, I'm no Greta Thunberg, but I'm okay with some of the modern alternatives that are a little more ecologically friendly. Electric lawn, cordless lawnmowers, weed eaters, things like that. But I'm in the camp of don't go out and buy something new if you can still fix what you got. That brings me to one of my biggest pet peeves. This blasted engine gives me no end of fits. I just rebuilt it over last summer. It's got great compression. Runs awesome when I can get it started, but this dang plastic bodied carburetor is giving me no end of fits. This stupid primer bulb that it has instead of a choke leaks like a sieve anytime I actually put gas in the darn thing. And it shouldn't even have gas in it if you haven't primed it, but it sits there and drips the entire time and it'll do it until the tank is empty. And I'm pretty sure that the problem is somehow the float in this weird cheap plastic carburetor is stuck. So I'm going to take it apart and see what I can figure out. On the plus side, you don't have to worry about plugging off a fuel line when all the gas leaked out last time you tried starting the damn machine. Now, this is some worthwhile stuff for anybody with a lawn or a snowblower or, you know, anything with a small. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, that thing is gushing. So, this is the carburetor. Most small engines have one. Nowadays, we're getting to see some single cylinders on the market with fuel injection, but they're still pretty rare. And just so you know, you are not supposed to be able to turn it upside down and have gasoline pour out of it. What we need to do is, in the case of this one, this is the float bowl. We need to get in here to try and figure out why the float is not cutting off the supply of fuel. Jesus Christ. Ah, such a mess. Okay, nothing special there. It's just the bottom. This is probably the simplest carburetor I've ever seen, and I work on a lot of older stuff from hell all the way back to the 40s. It's just an aluminum block with holes drilled in it and a butterfly valve for the throttle. It's part of why I don't like this blasted carburetor. It doesn't even have a choke. Okay, we got our gasket here. That looks good. That's not our problem. And this white thing right here. This is the carburetor float. It is supposed to, well, do what the name implies. It's supposed to float as this bowl fills up with gasoline. This is supposed to come up, and there's a little plunger back here at the back that as this rises up, it pushes down on it and cuts off the flow of fuel through this inlet barb. However, for whatever reason, that is not happening here. So what we're winding up with is, if there is fuel in the gas tank, there is fuel running into this float bowl, and because it's not cutting off and the fuel tank is higher than the carburetor, so that it'll flow. Uh, the float isn't floating, so the fuel supply is not getting cut off. So this is just filling and filling and filling, and eventually it's coming out through the jet, running out through the carburetor body, uh, filling the primer bulb and leaking there, and flooding the cylinder so that the engine can't start. So we got to figure out what's up here. So the first thing I got to do here is I got to figure out if our issue is the float not floating or the valve not closing. That's really easy to do. This part right here at the back where the actual shut-off valve is, I can just push down on that with my finger while I blow through the inlet barb. If I can't blow through it, the valve's working, the float's just being extra. Okay, I don't know if you could hear the air in the video, but I could blow air in when I wasn't pushing on it, and it would stop when I was. So our problem is not the valve. Ew. Okay. I'm starting to think our float might have a hole in it, and that's worrisome because I don't have an extra float. So now what I've done is something that's either really intelligent or really stupid. I had some old crappy homemade biodiesel sitting here on my workbench, and I filled the bowl up with it just to see if the float would actually float, which it is, and the valve is closed off. So now the problem I'm left with is having to figure out why just why. Oh, why? Because it's working fine with the carburetor torn apart on my workbench. This is what I hate about this modern day forced obsolescence crap. I mean, this carburetor is obviously not intended to last. And the worst part of it is this particular model, it's a Tecumseh that I'm working on. The intake port is clocked. The bolt holes for the carburetor are clocked in such a way that I can't just order some kind of a universal carb like a Mikuni or something and slap on there because the bolt holes don't line up. I'm going to let this sit a while, and if it doesn't drain out, I think I'll just spray that out with some carb cleaner, put it back together, and see what happens. Okay, so at no point did the darn thing start leaking, so I dumped my nasty ass old homebrew biodiesel out, and now I'm putting the carburetor back together. I do got to give them credit for one thing. This is a pretty easy carb to assemble. However, it is kind of a pain that the jet doesn't come out. Okay, and then we just gotta, this is the tricky part here, because this bail spring clippy deal that holds everything together can only go on one way. And none of this mess goes together straight. Wait a minute. That does not look right. Oh, and the jet just came out. The jet that is not supposed to come out just came out. F ML. If you don't know what that means, ask your teenager. Well, that's upside down. Lovely. Well, not upside down, but... remember what I was just saying about this carb being easy to put together? It decided to make a liar out of me. Okay, lined up there. Lined up there. What is up with... okay, that needs to be back there, but it... why the hell? There is something going on with this bale, but it doesn't move. But it's definitely getting in its own way. Is this what happens when you attempt to fix things that aren't meant to be fixed? Don't need that gasket right at the moment anyway. As long as it doesn't get ripped, that's all that matters. Wait, maybe. That one's in. That one's in. And come on, you can do it. Do I have the strength in my hands today? Got it. Okay. Got it back together. It's even pointing the right way, I think. Now, I really want to attempt to do away with that stupid primer ball BS. Doesn't really do anything to help get the darn thing started. I mean, 9 times out of 10, I still wind up having to give it a whiff of ether, so I'd just as soon get it out of the damn way. Okay, so our carb studs actually have stoppers on them that run right up against the mounting holes on our carb. So if I can figure out a way to tighten them, I might be able to run this damn thing without all this plastic primer BS. Because here's the thing, if it's being stubborn about starting and I don't have any ether or whatever, I got a choke right there. It's called my thumb. Now see, this is the kind of crap that scares the crap out of me. It's not leaking. And literally, all I did was take it apart, verify that the float works and the shut-off valve works, and put it back together. Honestly, with a few pieces left off. Well, and get the control plate back on so I can hook the throttle up, and let's see if it'll start. Well, how about that? Floods out if you bring the throttle up too fast, but it runs. Mission accomplished. I'm not sure what the point of this video was, other than basically I'm not afraid to deliberately do something wrong if it's gonna make whatever I need work. So, there you are. See you next time.